So we talked about the installation of a NIC, and what you're seeing here is a Cat5 connector on that bottom right, and then an old thin net connector up on the upper right. So that round circle is the thin net connector. You won't see that anymore. Maybe in old government installations you might see it, but for the most part everything has been, you might see it, but I doubt they're actually using it. Everything today is going to be using Ethernet. So you'll see the RJ45 connector down there on the bottom right. And don't forget, when you put the cards in the computers, you're doing it on an angle, right? Don't just stick them flat down in there. Do it on a little bit of an angle. They say 45 degree angle for the test, but really it's probably a little bit less than that. So we talked about a second ago about the twisted pair cable. The reason that we have that is to preserve the resonance, and it makes the signal go much further, incredibly further. It's amazing how it works, actually. So the twisted pair cable, that's what that's about, is to preserve that resonance. And we have the coaxial cable, and then we have the fiber optic cable, which is light. And we have the cladding on the outside on the fiber optic cable. That black part is a cladding. That's to keep other light out and keep all the light inside, trapped inside, so that it can't escape. And we're not introducing anything extra. It's very important for fiber optic cables. If you're ever digging and you cut one, you need to call someone, because it's going to start malfunctioning, and they're hunting it. They're looking for where the rupture occurred. And if you call them, they're going to work with you. It's a lot better if you try to cover it up and say, oh, and then they find it, because they will find it. They can tell exactly where the breaks are in a fiber optic cable. They'll test it, and they'll tell exactly, it's 1 mile down the road, it's 500 feet down the road. They'll know exactly how far it is. So that copper cladding is important. Don't scar that on your fiber optic cables. If you scar it, you need to change out that cable. And then the coaxial cable, we have the actual signal, the tip on the right, and then the white sheath to give it stiffness. And then we have the metal shielding to keep all the signals in, and to keep other signals from getting in, or our energy that we have inside the cable from escaping. And then we have the waterproof protector on the outside. And also that cladding on the fiber optic cable is waterproof as well. But for the case of the fiber optic cable, we're not as worried about water, because there's nothing in there that it can really mess with, but it's more to shield it from light, and to keep the light from escaping and other light from getting in. So specifying the right cable. So now this, you're going to see this on the test, and you need to know these for this and Networking Plus as well. So you might as well commit them to memory. Some of them are not relevant anymore. The Ethernet thin net, for example, you won't see that used anymore today. If you do, it's probably because you're replacing it. Most people will not use it today. So 10 base T, common being phased out for 100 base T. Okay, UTP, unshielded twisted pair, that's what it stands for. A half to 100 meters, speed 10 megabits per second. 10 base 2, 10 base 5, and 10 base T, right? That's what these are. So 10 base 2 is Ethernet thin net coax, 185 meters, 10 megabits per second. 10 base 5, thick Ethernet, and it's a coaxial, 500 meters, 10 megabits per second. That's pretty much what your cable companies use today, is a thick Ethernet. The thin net was really thin. Like most of your tools, you're like, why is this wire so thin? It just won't work on my stuff. Maybe because what you ordered, they gave you thin net by mistake. So make sure that you're getting a thick net. Also, the copper tip inside the copper wire is thinner on the thin net, and it needs to be thick and hardy on the thick net, and for your cable wires today, which is even thicker. And then 100 base T, which is really common today, twisted pair, and we also have shielded twisted pair. Again, 0.5 to 100 meters, so 100 megabits per second. And now we go all the way up to Cat 6, which is a gigabyte per second. And those are, the only difference there is that the wire, the copper wire inside is thicker. They're still twisted pair and all that, just the wires are, the copper conductor is getting thicker and thicker on each kind of wire. Let's see, what else can we say about this? That's pretty much it. Just remember, you need to know these for the test. LAN communication. Ethernet uses carrier sense multiple access collision detection. You might as well remember this. You will see this on the test, as well as bus. So CSMA, carrier sense multiple access with collision detection. So you may see CSMA, and you may see CSMA/CD with the collision detection. So as well as a bus topology there. So the token ring allows only the station holding the token to transmit the data. So the CSMA CD technology is used in lots of protocols, not just a token ring.